The Rockets have found their star. To win a championship, a team needs a game-breaking player, like LeBron or Jokic, and Amen Thompson might just be that guy. Amen is already an otherworldly two-way player, an athletic freak, and is improving by the day. When thinking of the Rockets' future, trades for Devin Booker or Giannis could have been the answer previously, but Amen Thompson could take Houston to the promised land quicker than many think, as the Rockets have already cemented themselves into the upper echelon in the West, and Thompson looked like he's transforming into a potential top 5 player. Over the last month, Amen has drastically improved on offense to the point where it looks like the sky is the limit. A once very limited, just high motor guy now looks like he could turn into a polished offensive engine, something the Rockets could really use. But to be a great offensive player, you gotta put points on the scoreboard, and Amen is very creative at doing that. Aside from Wemby, Amen might be the best lob threat currently in the league, or at least best as a non-big. He has turned into a vertical spacer and can soar through the air for highlight dunks at any time, with a lot of his slams being from a lob, and shockingly, nearly 20% of all his makes are from dunks, the highest percentage among all non-big men. His 80 dunks so far rank 13th, higher than guys like Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, and LeBron James, and is also, of course, the most among all non-4s or 5s. Not all of his dunks are off-ball though, as he can put people on a poster, like he recently did with Mitchell Robinson, or just drive to the cup and slam it down, especially in transition, though we'll talk more about that later. But Amen also gets a lot of those lobs off cuts, where he excels at. He's very creative in this area, and has a good knowledge of the game that he takes advantage over defenders' blind spots and zones. Commonly, he's cutting across the baseline from the corner, and even though his shooting is bad enough, where his defender can help on other drivers, Amen's cutting makes them pay for it. Among non-bigs, Amen ranks second in total points off cuts, only falling to MPJ, who is alongside arguably the best playmaker in the league, Nikola Jokic. He can also just drive inside. His speed is one of a kind, as legitimately one of the fastest players in the association, but his ability to elevate is special. While it does help him a lot defensively, and that will be talked more about later, Amen can get up in super speed, having the second fastest median time in jumping from the floor to 24 inches, and that helps him get to the rim faster than any defender. Amen's driving is most of his scoring, but he is incredibly efficient at the rim, and is shooting above 70% in the restricted area, and an absurd 75% within 3 feet of the rim. Expectedly, he's a beast in transition, and his insane speed allows him to get easy looks, averaging nearly 4.5 points, and he's shooting 68%. Amen is continuing to score more seemingly by the week. His improvement is what is so encouraging, but with more responsibility and minutes, the points have gone up exponentially. In October and November, he averaged less than 12 a game, and in December, improved to just 12. But since the flip of the calendar, Amen is a different player. He's third on Houston with 17.6 points a game, and is doing it on an efficient 52.7%. He's scoring at a very good rate, and with this jump in scoring directly correlating to the jump in minutes, this is a very sustainable scoring rate and could potentially even go higher if he gets more control of the offense. Among all Rockets players, Amen is comfortably 4th behind Freddie, Şengün, and Jalen Green in touches, but has recently been taking over more control of the offense. In second, since the New Year's with nearly 16 more touches a game. With Amen getting better, Houston has allowed him to expand his game and have more responsibility in the offense, which has really been working. Houston is still an above average offense and is 11-7 since the New Year's, despite the team being expected to cool down from its blazing hot start, which it kinda is as it's on a losing streak right now. But Amen as an offensive engine is also starting to take strides. He has shown ability as a connective passer from inside and the three-point line, and his playmaking has improved, someone that can pass through the gaps, and though he still does make turnovers that a young player would, he can toss for 6 to 8 assists on any given night and has had a triple-double. He's starting to be able to command an offense more, and though he is still a rough shooter, his form looks good. And if you know anything about his work ethic, he can improve, and the threat of him as a cutter and driver still offers some spacing. He's a growing offensive threat that is legit terrifying in transition. If I saw Amen in the open lane, I would run out of the way. I'm not blocking him. and he really is just one of the better drivers inside. But after all of this, you may think his offense is what makes him so good, and while his improvement into star level territory is based on that, Amen is an even better defender. You may be a casual watcher and just like watching some of the games and graze over some box scores, and you would still know just how good Amen is because he is a stock machine, and I'm not talking S&P. Amen has a combined 124 stocks, steals, and blocks, and since the start of 2025, he's third in total steals, only trailing Dyson Daniels and his brother Asor, while also being top 20 in total blocks. He's the only player in the entire league with 65 or more steals and 50 blocks. But let's go deeper than just the basic counting stats. Amen is genuinely an elite defender. He's insanely versatile and can defend literally 1 through 5 for stretches, and being a complete athletic freak may help him more on this side of the ball. His defensive recoveries are elite for a player not named Victor Wembanyama, as his ability to recover from behind pick and rolls as a non-7-footer is crazy. And again, that ability to jump into outer space in a millisecond helps him swat away tons of shots. His strength allows him to defend multiple positions and be able to defend post-ups from bigs, with a specific example being backed down by Evan Mobley but held his ground and ended up blocking the Cavs' unicorn. Even when Amen is being bumped and off balance, his ability to recover to get his hand on the ball or at least just contest players. My personal favorite Amen Thompson defensive quality is his fast hands. Amen will just brick wall defenders at half court, and when the time is right, poke the ball away and it is a free basket. It is one of the most beautiful things you can watch as a defensive lover in the entire NBA. That is how a lot of the transition buckets are created, and even in passing lanes, Amen is very disruptive. He's a skilled help defender, having a high defensive IQ, knowing exactly how much to help or hedge, and his hands can mess up the ball handler. Amen is also versatile and fast enough to guard guards and smaller guys, but shifty enough to stay with them to the basketball. He's a complete nightmare to be matched up against, no matter what position or size you are. And despite being in just his second season, he's comfortably one of the best defenders in the league and could currently make the first team all defense. Players cannot make shots on him. As of the end of January, players have shot just 41.2% against Amen, the 7th lowest of all players with a solid amount of defensive responsibility. The Rockets have shown that they are better with him on the court, as they're plus 5.1 per 100 possessions with him playing, and plus 1.6 when he's on the floor compared to when he's on the bench. He already has 2.7 defensive win shares, which ranks 7th in the league, and he has a 107 defensive rating. Amazingly, Amen is barely 22 years old, as he turned 22 less than 10 days ago. The Rockets' all-around defense does help Amen. Because of some of the other elite defenders, Amen has running mates on defense, like Tari Eason. He also is a wing defender, but can stand guys up at half court and cause turnovers. And Amen and Tari will absolutely blitz ball handlers the second they lose control of the possession. With those two elite players and other guys in transition, it is over for the opposing team. Overall, the team's defense is the strong point and the main reason that Houston is one of the best teams in not just the West, but the entire NBA. Amen and Tari is an amazing defensive duo, but the rest of the team is filled with capable and improving defenders, and they slow down the game with just 98.9 possessions a game. But the best quality in this team is their ability to cause turnovers and what they do with them. The stud perimeter defenders also play the passing lanes and mess with ball handlers, leading to over 15 turnovers a game. And this team is explosive, as guys like Jalen Green, Amen, and Cam Whitmore will throw down house of highlights worthy dunks effortlessly once they get in open space on the fast break, and they average nearly 20 points a game off turnovers and almost 25 in transition. The Rockets rank 4th across the whole league in defensive rating, even above the Celtics, Timberwolves, and Cavs, despite not having a typical rim protector. As though Şengün is an improved defender, Houston isn't relying on him inside as the key defensive piece, and that's because of their wings' defensive versatility and ability to help inside. The Rockets' switch ability helps their team defense, and it has been a focal point of their team, but they can also just put some points on the board. Houston sits just outside of the top 10 in offensive rating, but since the New Year's, they have been at 9th at 117.1, above the Celtics and Mavericks. Jalen Green is one of the biggest question marks on a game-by-game basis due to his wild inconsistency, but he can drop 40 on any given night and give your favorite defender some of the toughest buckets you have ever seen. Sengun is also a very good offensive hub and will make his first All-Star appearance this year. And while he has had a slight offensive regression this year, he's still a very capable player on both sides of the ball, along with Fred VanVleet, who has improved after a really rough start the season to still be a solid vet presence. This team has a lot of other young players like Reed Shepherd, Jabari Smith Jr., and Cam Whitmore, and is set up for the future perfectly, but how good are they this year? Now, I am a bit lower on the Rockets this season and in the short term, but let me explain, and this problem won't be forever. Trusting their half-court offense in the playoffs will be very hard, as they have struggled creating in smaller areas consistently, and when a team gets the game plan against them for up to 7 games, it is tough, and turnovers aren't as common in the playoffs. While Green, Sengun, VanVleet, and Amen can all create opportunities offensively, trusting any of them as a main initiator, at least as of right now, is very scary in the playoffs, and with turnovers commonly being more limited, the team's lack of playoff experience, aside from VanVleet and Steven Adams, and the depth of the Western potentially giving Houston unfavorable early matchups, they just aren't real title contenders yet. That isn't to hate on Houston being this good. Currently 32-18, even as they have been cold as of late, and the 3rd seed in the West. Who would have expected that at the beginning of this season? They will get valuable playoff experience, something that helped the Thunder massively last season, but the ceiling on this team could be a conference finals or second round exit. But let's look in the long term. Just how good can Amen Thompson be? This would be the best possibility, but Amen Thompson has the potential to be a top 5 player one day. He has already grown from outside the top 100 just 6 or so months ago to now a top 40 player in my opinion, and could be pushing top 30 to 35. Though Amen is a type of player that doesn't really have a comparison, he's just that unique of a prospect. If I had to make one, I would say a mix between Russell Westbrook, early Kawhi Leonard, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. This type of athleticism is generational. Yes, players are called athletic freaks all the time. We see multiple in every draft class, but his combination of size, strength, and of course, hops is one of a kind, and something that helps his versatility on both sides of the court and helps draw the Russ comparison. He has the insane driving ability of a smaller Giannis in a sense, though of course nowhere near the same volume. He's able to use his strength and wingspan to body defenders inside, and has the defensive recoveries like Giannis, but can also lock guys up and play an elite two-way level like a Spurs Kawhi. While his shooting is a big project that is nothing confirmed, we have seen Amen take and make pull-up middies, and his form doesn't look terrible. Both of the Thompson twins have amazing work ethics, and unlike a Ben Simmons situation where he consistently didn't improve on his shooting, Amen has a slight willingness to shoot, and is more encouraging in his shooting development. Either way, he's growing as an offensive hub, especially with the more touches he gets, though he's still able to play on and off ball at a very high level. If Amen is able to continue growing his all-around offensive game, like playmaking and shooting, he already has the feel and motor to become a superstar in this league. And looking at the Rockets' long-term outlook, they may have found their answer. While many franchises try to force it, teams need a 5 to 10 player to win a championship. And over the last decade, the best, or at least arguably best for all those KD Steph debaters out there, are Steph, LeBron, KD, Kawhi, Giannis, Jokic, and Tatum. The worst player, Jason Tatum, still had a very good case to be a top 6 player and was on the greatest three-point shooting team of all time. The Rockets, though setting up the clear foundation for a championship team, were still missing that 1A superstar, and rumors of them forcing a trade and losing some of their assets for a short-term piece were appearing because they didn't know who that guy was going to be. Well, if Amen Thompson can become that player, the Rockets' rebuild just became a lot easier. They are now able to use the assets to get pieces that are better for fit, where a couple years down the line, when the Suns have their rebuild after this dumpster fire of a current team, Houston should be in prime position to get Devin Booker to pair with Amen, Sengun, and Jalen Green because of the multitude of Suns picks that they own. Houston is in one of the best positions in the league for the future, with plenty of young assets to continue improving, but already being one of the best teams in the league, with the young stars, and Amen is at the forefront, ready to launch the Rockets back into contention.